Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with another episode of Speaking My Mind. How you all doing? I hope you're all doing well. Oh, just hit a branch there. Not too bad. It's a bit mild, a bit cloudy. Doesn't look like it's going to be any rain, which is a good sign. Although with the clouds, you never know really. I'm not seeing it too much here. So what are we going to talk about today, guys? I want to talk about a place I went to a few years ago. A country that you don't really think about, a place of going. A country you don't think about going to as a holiday. That's in the news recently for the wrong reasons. Well, at the time of this recording anyway. And that is Iceland. Yes, not the shopping mall, not the shop Iceland in the UK. No. The country Iceland, yes. I went there with my partner and two other relatives. We went there for about 4 or 5 days, I think it was roughly. We went to Iceland, and I have to say it was how should I put this? So it's not super expensive, but it's still expensive in its own way. I wouldn't call it Switzerland expensive, and I don't know Switzerland because I haven't been there yet, although it is somewhere on the bucket list I would like to go to. Even though it is like super expensive there, it's still somewhere I want to go. But I was literally blown away by how beautiful the country Iceland was. And we went in, where was it when we went? We went sometime in July, so this was around summertime, so one of the better times to go to Iceland. And during that period in Iceland, if you didn't know, there's sunlight pretty much 24/7 in the country during that period. Because of where it is geography-wise on the globe, it gets sunlight all the time during the summertime, and it gets dark nearly all the time during the winter times. I think like sometimes it could be a maximum of 3 hours of daylight if you go during the winter times, which I would say is like kind of. The only reason you would probably go to Iceland as a holiday during that time period is either if you're visiting family or friends, or you're there for to see the northern lights. And because of the time of the year we went, there was you can't see the northern lights, which sucks. But to be fair, we still had a blast and amazing time there in itself. But I really don't understand the premise of going to Iceland during the winter time, because it's freezing cold. We're talking about negative 15, 20, something like that, like even worse than that maybe, like really bloody cold. Okay, then on top of that, you're spending the majority of your time in the dark. So what do? You can't see much. I mean, unless you're in the capital Reykjavik, can't really not really a lot. I mean, you could go to the Blue Lagoon. Okay, that's pretty cool, which I'll talk about in a mo. But a lot of, you're in the dark. You can't really see much of Iceland in itself. So that's just kind of me. So flight there wasn't too bad. It wasn't it's only I think it's like an extra half an hour, 40 minutes more than a flight there used to take going from the UK to Ireland. It's really not that bad, to be fair, for flight travels. And actually, the flights are not too bad either. If you're coming from America, I know they do like flights from like Chicago and other places going straight to Iceland as well, and those flight times are not too bad. I've looked at well, only go a couple of hours as well in comparison to going all the way to the UK. Still quite a journey, to say the least. But so what do you do when you go to Iceland? Well, it's very lush, very green, especially during the summertime. We were very fortunate with the weather, because obviously because of where it's situated, it's known for obviously getting a lot of rainfall, but we only had one day where we had a lot of rain. Most of the days were pretty darn good. They have these obviously beautiful mountains and backdrops they go to, gorgeous waterfalls. And here's the thing, like you go to pretty much most of these places, these touristy hotspots, and we had someone that drove around on our behalf for us, and the movie took us to one waterfall, which was absolutely massive, just stunning beauty. And this is just water that trickles down obviously from the mountains that goes out into the out into the, that goes all the way out into the ocean, obviously. And there are so many of these around, and because of the volcanic country, because of, you know, for its volcanoes and eruptions and whatnot, there's obviously a lot of places. There was lots of places around the country where there's lots of steam popping up out of the ground, and obviously the people there use that energy take advantage of that energy. They use that energy to heat their homes and whatnot and stuff, which is pretty cool. And then there's obviously the famous Blue Lagoon. So what is the Blue Lagoon? The Blue Lagoon is an extremely hot, think of a massive outdoor swimming pool. Now think of it really, really hot and thermal. It's powered by the steam, by the energy underneath, and it really does give you a pampered experience. It was expensive, so it wasn't cheap. But when we went to Iceland and we looked at the prices, we're like, do we really want to do this? Just several years ago, of course, and like we bit the bullet and did it, and we're glad we did, because it was an absolutely wonderful time. And by the way, if you want to see the photos and some photos and videos of Iceland, of my trip there, you can check them out on my Patreon. You do have to pay in to the Patreon if you want to have a look at them, but they are on there if you want to check them out anyway, to see it from my view. But I had there was obviously geysers as well. Now I've never seen like a geyser where it just shoots up out of the ground as well. So we did something called the Golden Circle tour. So we split off from others that we were with, and just me and my partner just took this Golden Circle tour. I think it was like 120 quid, and it took us to various places. It took us to the Iceland's National Park, which is considered their main national park. We got to obviously see geysers, so actual geysers from steam coming up from out of the ground, which is pretty darn cool. Got to see some cool waterfalls as well, and we got to see this massive crater hole in the ground, which is a giant hole in the ground. But I loved our tour guide that we had, because she gave us lots of information about the history and about some of these places, which is really, really amazing stuff. And I took so many videos and photos of all these places that we went to in Iceland. And I gotta say, it was a wonderful country to go to. People there were very nice. Everyone spoke English. Never had a language barrier whatsoever. The one there, they have, I think, 3 or 4 languages there. So Icelandic, English, Danish is the other language. And I think, can't remember the other language they learned, but there's 4 languages that they learn. I think it's could be Norwegian. I could be wrong on that. Someone could correct me in the comments, but it was just it was an amazing experience. And obviously at the time of this recording, there's obviously lots of volcanic eruption taking place. And I remember when we were doing the tour with the guide, they were telling us that they're due any time for eruptions, because they've been overdue. So they know, the people of Iceland knew that they were coming. It was just a case of when it was happening, not if it was going to happen. So overall, I will say obviously that if you can afford it, and if you have an opportunity to go there, please do. It's a great experience. Make sure if you're going, make sure either yourself or someone has a driving license. Hire a car out and do a good drive around. You could even do the whole country if you wanted to, like drive around, because there is like a main road that goes around the entire island. But that's like but you need to give up at least about, I would say about a whole month maybe, to do the whole trip around the whole island, because it's quite a trek. I mean, we drove quite a fair bit down the southwest of Iceland, but we didn't do like any kind of ring circle or anything like that around the country, because we were only there for 4 or 5 days ish. But I would definitely say, if you haven't been to Iceland, have a look at it. It is a beautiful country, and it's definitely worth checking out, guys. So what do you guys think of Iceland? Have you been there? What do you know of it? Have you ever thought about wanting to go there as a holiday destination at some point in your future? Let me know your thoughts about it and the country itself in the comments section down below. And if you happen to be someone from Iceland, say hello. Take care, everyone, and thanks for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.